Okay, so we're looking at variance analysis where a company wants to find out, did you spend more or did you spend less? Did you perform better in terms of were you being efficient or were you being inefficient? That's what variance analysis is. Okay, so we have a question here. It says XYZ Manufacturing Limited produces a single product and operates a standard costing system. Okay, so the standard cost of producing one unit with the information here, direct material 5 kg, the standard price of 4 kwacha per kg. So when it comes to direct materials, all right, each unit uses 5 kg and it costs 4 kwacha per kg. Okay, so when you're going to see when we're preparing the standard cost card, we're going to find out what our direct materials, what we're budgeting or expecting it to cost. All right, standard costing, I've also forgot to mention. Standard costing, it's like, how can I say? This standard cost is a benchmark, okay? Because we said that with variance analysis, you want to find out if you did better or worse. So you need a benchmark, okay? And so to measure if you did better or worse. That's where this standard costing comes in. Okay. This standard cost, this is what we are expecting. These are the costs we are expecting to incur. Okay. But in what happens is after you've done your production and everything, you find there'll be differences now. There'll be differences in the costs that you actually incur. So those actual costs are going to be compared with the standards to see if you did better or worse. That's where the variance analysis is coming from. You're comparing it against the standard. Okay. For example, if your standard grade is a B, okay, then you write a test and you get an A. You're going to compare that A against the B and say that I did better. But if your standard grade is a B, you write a test and you get a D, then you know that compared to that, your benchmark grade, which is a B, you got a D, you performed worse. That's the same logic that we're going to be using here in the variance analysis. Okay. Variable production overhead absorbed at 6 kwacha per labor hour. Yes, I remember, colleagues, you attended that lesson for overhead absorption. You're just trying to include the overheads in the cost of each unit. Fixed production overhead. Okay, so the budgeted fixed production overhead is 40,000 kwacha per month. Okay, this is what we budget our fixed overheads to cost. Okay, and based on a normal capacity of 10,000 labor hours. Okay, so this is the labor hours you usually use, or this is your standard labor hours, 10,000 labor hours. Okay. Standard selling price 50 kwacha per unit. Okay, so now we got the company budgeted to produce and sell 5,000 units during March. Actual results for March were as follows, right? Actual production 6,000 units. They actually produced 6,000 units. Okay. Actual sales 5,500. Direct material used 31,000 kg. Actual direct material cost 136,400. Direct labor hours worked 12,000 hours. Direct labor hours paid 12,500. Actual direct labor cost 131,250. Actual variable overhead incurred 78,000. Actual fixed overhead, actual fixed production overhead incurred 42,000. The actual selling price was 48 kwacha per unit. So these actual results are going to be compared against the standards or the budgeted information to see if we spent more or were we more efficient, or if we spent less and were we less efficient. Okay, so the first question is prepare the standard cost card per unit and then calculate the following variances. So here first we're going to prepare the standard cost card per unit. Okay, using this information here. Okay, so the standard cost card per unit is this one here. Okay, you have your cost item, the standard quantity, the standard rate, and the standard cost. All right. Direct material, as we said, each unit needs 5 kg of this material. And the cost is 4 kwacha per kg. So 5 times 4, 20 kwacha. So basically, each unit of this material, uh, direct materials have to cost 20 kwacha according to our standard. Okay. The direct material cost per unit should be 20 kwacha per unit. Okay. Direct labor hour. Okay. So each unit takes 2 hours. Okay. Takes 2 hours. The standard rate is 10 kwacha per hour. So the standard labor cost should be 2 times 10 kwacha, 20 kwacha. Okay, so for each unit of this material, labor should cost 20 kwacha. Our variable production overheads. Remember, we used labor hours to absorb our variable production overheads. All right, so each unit, 2 hours. The variable overhead production is 6 kwacha per hour. So each unit, the variable overhead should cost 2 times 6, 12 kwacha. Okay. Then we need our fixed overhead cost per unit. Remember, they gave us this information earlier here. They said budgeted fixed overheads are 40,000 per month based on a normal capacity of 10,000 labor hours. So, in order to include the fixed cost in the cost card for each unit, we need to first absorb these fixed costs. When we absorb them, that's how we get our overhead absorption rate, which is our fixed overhead cost per unit. So remember, colleagues, when absorbing overheads, we used this formula: budgeted overheads divided by budgeted capacity. Now, since you're going to use there are a lot of absorption bases, here we know that we're using labor hours. So you just say budgeted overheads over the budgeted labor hours. Okay, budgeted, I mean activity level, not capacity, activity level. And the budgeted activity level is 10,000 labor hours. 10,000 hours. So our fixed overhead rate, which is our overhead absorption rate, 40,000 divided by 10,000 hours, you get 4 kwacha per hour. All right, 4 kwacha per hour. Okay. So the standard quantity, as we said, for labor, it is 2 hours. So we're also going to also use the standard quantity of 2 hours here for each unit, because each unit needs 2 hours. So if you absorb the fixed overheads with the labor hours, then your standard quantity should follow what the labor hours are saying. Okay. Yes. So the standard rate is 4 kwacha per hour. So the standard cost, 2 times 4, 8 kwacha. So this is the fixed overhead cost per unit. Okay. So our total standard cost, you're going to say 20 plus 20 plus 12 plus 8. You're going to get 60 kwacha. Okay. You're going to get 60 kwacha. Right. This is the standard cost card per unit. Okay. Now, you can also find the standard profit or loss for each unit also, colleagues. Okay. Remember the standard profit or loss, it's profit, remember, is selling price minus cost price. Okay. Selling price minus cost price. Okay. They told us in the information here that our standard selling price is what? 50 kwacha per unit. We found that our standard cost is 60 kwacha per unit. So our standard profit per unit, selling price minus cost price, 50 minus 60, you get negative 10. Okay, you get negative 10. So this company should change their standard selling price. Okay, it's because the standard cost they're incurring is greater than the selling price. All right. Yes. So for the standard cost card, we are done with this part here.